thrilled to be back in the great state of Arizona with the hardworking, God-fearing patriots of Turning Point Action and Turning Point USA. 7 months ago, our country lost a fearless warrior, my friend, for freedom, and he was just an amazing man. He was an amazing person. Charlie Kirk, just an amazing guy. Charlie was murdered by a cruel and vicious assassin who believed that by silencing his voice, he could kill an entire giant movement. But standing here today, it's clear to see that Charlie's voice is not silenced, it's roaring and roaring back, louder, frankly, than ever before. His message is unstoppable, his mission is totally unstoppable, and his movement is forget it. It's not going to happen any other way but success. It's amazing what he's done. He was such a great friend of mine. We talked all the time. We'd speak all the time. Talking about politics. We talked about God. We talked about everything you can talk about. He was a special person. And I want to just thank Erica. She was put into a rough situation. Don't kid yourself. That's a rough situation. Those people think it's easy. I told her, not so easy, Erica is. But she loved that man more than anything else, and she's done a really terrific job. I want to thank her on behalf of all of us. Because together we're making America great again, and this November we're going to win the midterms. We're going to win, and we're going to win like never before. For some reason, even if you have a great presidency, if you haven't, I don't think there's been one like this. And we have some good news I'll tell you about a little. Would anybody like to hear about Iran? You know, this was scheduled a long time ago. I said, let's not do any media for a little while. Here I am. This is sort of interesting. They're all waiting. Look at all the fake news back there. So, we can fill this place up 4 times. Would anybody like to give up your seat? Allow somebody to... But it's really been an incredible period of time, and I'll tell you about it. But in 2024, Turning Point's grassroots army helped us win Arizona in an absolute landslide. We won all 7 swing states. We won the Electoral College 312 to 226. We won the popular vote by millions of votes, and we won, and that's the first time in decades that a Republican, I don't know what that's all about, won the popular vote. But we won by a lot, and we won 86% of all counties. Now think of that. Counties, to me, that's the biggest of all, most important of all. 86% of all counties in America, 2,700 to 525. That's called a landslide. And I want to thank everybody at Turning Point Action who's working tirelessly to help us get out the vote this November 3rd. And I especially want to thank all of the executives and Erica Kirk in particular. Thank you. This will be a great and brilliant day for the world, because Iran has just announced that the Strait of Hormuz is fully open and ready for business. With the greatest Navy in the world, from the greatest military the world has ever seen. We built it. During my first term, we built it. They said I was crazy. We weren't so crazy, were we? We'll remain in full force and effect as it pertains to Iran until such time as our transaction with Iran is 100% complete and fully signed. In this process, we're getting along well, but who knows with anyone, but who knows with Iran in particular. This process should go very quickly, and that most of the points are already negotiated and agreed to. You'll be very happy. The USA will get all nuclear dust. You know what the nuclear dust is? That was that white powdery substance created by our B-2 bombers, those great B-2 bombers, late one evening. 7 months ago. No money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form. Iran will be, and you know how we're going to get the dust, right? Iran. We were going to take it anyway, but taking it that way is slightly more dangerous. But we were going to get it anyway. But Iran, with the help of the USA, has removed or is removing all of the sea mines. And most importantly, it never agreed, and you'll understand, they will never have a nuclear weapon. They will never have a weapon. And somebody said, how are we going to get the nuclear dust? We're going to get it by going in with Iran, with lots of excavators, because the B-2s, remember when fake news CNN said, well, maybe obliteration is too strong a word. Obliteration. That's so deep. We need the biggest excavators you can imagine, but we're going to go in together with Iran, we're going to get it, and we're going to take it back home to the USA. And now that the Hormuz Strait situation is almost over, I received a call from NATO asking if we would like some help. And I told them I would have liked your help 2 months ago, but now I really don't want your help anymore. Because they were absolutely useless when we needed them. But actually, we never needed them. They needed us. They need us. They need us so badly. You know, it's a little bit like if you're a politician. It's hard to believe I'm a politician, but after I won, people came up to me, sir, I'd like to make a major contribution to your campaign. And I said, listen, just so you understand, campaign contributions after I won don't count. And NATO after we won, that doesn't count either. It's the same thing. But you have to remember that, because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year. We spend money. We spend, I would say, in many cases, close to $1 trillion over a couple of years, $1 trillion to help them. And we're always helping them. And this was just a military excursion. This isn't the big time. You know, we built a military so great. I'm so proud of it. It's one of the, including Space Force. You know, you see all of that. When you see those rockets go one, look up there, there's Space Force. We all created Space Force. Didn't exist. We were losing to China and to Russia in space, and now we're so far ahead of them both, you wouldn't believe it. But yesterday, on top of it all, we achieved what everyone said was impossible, an unprecedented ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, and that hasn't taken place in 78 years. Not in any way tied to Lebanon, but we will make Lebanon great again. I mean, it's about time we've sort of, the world has forgotten them, and they're good people who have lived like hell for a long period of time, and hopefully the situation with Hezbollah will get straightened out quickly. But I want to thank the country of Pakistan and its great Prime Minister and its great Field Marshal. He's our great Field Marshal. Two fantastic people for helping. They really are terrific people. And I also want to thank Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. They've been amazing. They've all helped tremendously, tremendously. And it took courage for them. Not easy, not easy. They were living with what they call the bully of the Middle East. They had the bully. Iran was the bully of the Middle East. They're not the bully anymore. With the help of everyone here today, this has been by far the most successful first year of any administration in the history of our country, acknowledged by everyone. To begin with, I ended 8 wars, and it may be a little early to say this, but if we add Iran and Lebanon, that will be 10 wars ended and many, many millions of lives saved. Think of how many lives we've saved. Starting on day one, we ended the illegal invasion of America. That's an invasion by criminals. Many criminals, murderers, drug dealers, prisoners. They emptied out their prisons into our country. And we took the most dangerous, unsafe, violent, and open border and created the most secure border in U.S. history, one of the most secure borders anywhere in the world, with zero illegal aliens coming into our country in the past 11 months. Zero! And in 2025, we achieved the largest drop in violent crime ever recorded. That's despite all of these people that came into our country. Many of them are now gone, I'm pleased to tell you. The murder rate, isn't it a terrible thing to be talking about murder? But you gotta say it. At least if it's good news, I guess it's good news. But the murder rate reached the lowest level in over 125 years. 1900. The year 1900, before my father was born, my father was great. Before he was born, the flow of deadly fentanyl pouring across our border is down by an astounding 59%. And as you probably noticed, if you watch the news, illegal drugs coming in by ocean or sea are down by 97%. And we're trying to find out who the 3% is, because I consider them to be perhaps the bravest people anywhere in the world. Boom. Or they don't watch television or something. We passed the largest tax cuts in American history, the largest spending cuts in American history, the largest regulation cuts in American history, and the largest investment in border security in the history of our country. And starting my first day in office, we banned the transgender mutilization of our children. We made it the official policy of the United States of America that there are only two genders, male and female. Can you imagine if I was up here 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, probably 12 years ago, and I said there are only two genders, male and female? People would say, what the hell is he saying that for? Is he crazy? It's got to be the worst speech I've ever heard. Why is he saying that? Or why is he saying that we got men out of women's sports? Can you imagine saying that 15 years ago? 15 years ago, you said, and we got men out of women's sports. The audience would say, what's wrong with that guy? It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And we got critical race theory out of our schools. And we abolished DEI across the entire federal government. And we eliminated so-called affirmative action in federal contracting and university admissions. If you get great marks and great scores, and your boards are good, everything's good, you're getting in. People can't go before. We have a country now that again is based on merit. But we have to win the midterms, and all of these things, it'll stay with us forever. But if we don't win the midterms, I said it during my State of the Union speech when I interviewed and talked to some people backstage. I said, you know, I'd like to have some of these people called out for their greatness. And we gave out, as you know, that night, the Congressional Medal of Honor to a young man who was flying a helicopter with practically his legs shot off. And he landed in Venezuela perfectly with a lot of men on board, like 48. And if that goes down, the Venezuela incredible attack, nobody killed. Hundreds of millions of barrels of oil taken out. The relationship with Venezuela is great. We're working, it's like a great partnership. But if that doesn't happen, we looked at the Democrats. Not one was clapping. Medal of Honor. Then we interviewed a mother, a beautiful mother, whose daughter was slashed from behind by a maniac. She could hardly stand. It was 8 months ago. She could hardly stand, crying uncontrollably. Not one Democrat was clapping. Then we introduced a war hero from 100 years. He was 101 years old. Gave him the Congressional Medal of Honor for his great heroics. Wasn't recognized until I came along. Not one Democrat clapped. Not one Democrat. And now they don't want to pay our border security. And they don't want to pay our great patriots of ICE. You know, ICE is a tough job. You got those murders that they allowed into our country. Think of it. Thousands of murders came into our country. 11,888, 50% of whom killed more than one person. These are violent criminals. And ICE is tough. And I don't want that job, and most of you don't either. I have a couple of friends in the front row, and they're tough people, but they're not that tough. They don't want that job. And if we don't have ICE, and if we don't have our great border patrol, and if we don't have our great policemen, and all of these people, they're incredible. They keep our country great. They keep our country safe. And the Democrats want to defund them. They want to defund ICE. They want ICE terminated. And you know, whether you're liberal, conservative, doesn't matter. Democrat, Republican, Independent, it's crazy. And I looked at them as we went through about 7 moments when you had to clap, and they didn't. I said, these people are crazy. They're crazy. And you know, I don't know if you noticed, the word was passed to them from people that were watching, I guess, on television, maybe standing backstage. They said, this guy is killing you. Start clapping. And clapping for everything I said. They were clapping for everything, things they shouldn't have been clapping for, because they heard they were getting killed. Just remember that night. That night was a very telling night. And we don't want to go back to that. We don't want open borders where millions of people pour into our country. We want to have safe borders. We want people coming into our country, but they want to come in, and we have to have them come in legally. Very simple. So I signed a historic executive order starting the process of shutting down the Federal Department of Education and sending education back to the states. Thank you, Linda McMahon. Education. Move back to the states where it should be. You don't want to have a bureaucrat from Washington who couldn't care less about your community telling you how to educate your child. You have your local boards and your parent groups. One thing, I know you love your children. I'm not sure that they do. But we've largely removed education. Well, we just did it. Just move them back. You know, we're supposed to go through a long process. Thank you, by the way, to Linda McMahon. She's been fantastic. And we removed over 300,000 bureaucrats from federal payrolls. They had sometimes 10, 11, 12 people to do one job, and they just sit there. And you know what? I have a lot of respect for whatever. But you can't run a country like that. You can't, as the expression goes, has anyone ever heard of it? Make America great again? You can't make America great again when you do that. So we've done that, and you know, many of those people are very happy, because right now more people are working in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. And many of those people that had these boring, lousy jobs where they weren't even jobs, federal government, they went out and they got jobs in the private sector, because we have the most people working than we've ever had before, and they're making more money and enjoying their job. It's sort of an amazing phenomenon. After decades of other countries stealing our jobs and plundering our wealth, thanks to our strong policy on tariffs, we cut our gaping trade deficit. Now, if you do 1%, you're considered like a genius. If you do 2 or 3%, it's unheard of. We cut it by 59% this year, our trade gap. It's the largest drop of the trade gap. Think of it. It's the largest drop in history, in the history of our country. 59%. Can you believe it? So if you're a genius with 1% and really a super genius at 3, what are you with 59? I don't know. As part of our tax cuts, we delivered, a lot of you benefited by this, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. You know, the great big beautiful bill is really the great big beautiful tax cut bill, but it was also, we gave you the right to deduct your interest payments on a car loan, but only if it's made in the USA. That's been incredible. You never had that right before. And this week, millions of Americans received the largest tax refunds of their lives. The average is more than $4,000 per filer. Think of that. So nobody knew this was going to happen, but now they're getting their refunds back, and they're much larger than I said. In other words, I under-exaggerated, which is good. And in 4 long years, Sleepy Joe Biden, have you heard of him? What a president, what a disaster. But the whole party, it was the party, he didn't run the country. The people surrounding the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, they ran the party. Radical left lunatics. But in 4 long years, Sleepy Joe Biden got less than $1 trillion invested in our country, much less. And in 12 months, so think of it, 4 years. Ours is 12 months, and it's actually 11 because we haven't gotten the last month. So in 11 months versus, think of that, versus 4 years, they did less than $1 trillion. In 11 months, we did $18 trillion of new investments. And that's a record for any country anywhere in the world by a lot. And the king of Saudi Arabia told me, when I was in Saudi Arabia, they invested $2 trillion in our country. But he looked at me, he said, you know, Mr. President, a short time ago, we viewed the United States as a dead country. We thought it was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And he's right, the hottest country anywhere in the world. For years before I took office, people thought that America was in decline, that our best days were in the past, and that the sun was setting on American power. But no one thinks that anymore, because we are indeed the strongest, the hottest, the best country anywhere in the world. And you know what? Nobody laughs at us anymore. They were laughing. They thought we were laughing at us. Under this administration, America is on the march, and America is on the rise like we haven't seen maybe ever before. We are respected again as a country, and we're respected at levels that nobody thought possible. Unlike past leaders, this administration does not apologize for American power. We are not ashamed of American might, and we do not hesitate to defend the American people, which is what we've been doing for the last 2 months, because Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. For years, we were ruled by fools who let every third-rate country push us around and bleed us dry on trade and everything else they could get away with. They took advantage of us on trade, not any more than that. But those days are over, and they're gone forever. America was not founded by weak and timid men who cowered in the face of evil or sat by as danger loomed and let our country go to hell. We are descended from the likes of George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Generals Ulysses S. Grant, Douglas MacArthur, General George Patton. Our ancestors knew exactly what to do with America's enemies. Beat them, and beat them good. That's what they had to do. That's what they had to do. And if NATO teaches us any one thing, and I hope you all watched, because they weren't there for us, if it teaches us any one thing, we have to rely on ourselves. We can't rely on outside countries and outside sources. So do not listen to the craven and cowardly voices who tell you America needs to think small, or or to shrink from our duties or potential. Most people, they wanted to, this recent situation, they wanted to do it, but they said, oh, let's not get involved. Sometimes you have to get involved. You have no choice but to get involved. If you're going to remain great, sometimes you have to get involved. Remember, I'm the peacemaker. I'm the one that settled 8 wars. I settled a war that would have killed 30 to 50 million people. India, Pakistan. You have to sometimes get involved. We are the inheritors of the most incredible civilization that has ever existed, and our task is to defend it. We have to defend it. Past leaders used our wealth and power to make other countries rich and treated our military like a charity for the world while getting barely a word of thanks in return. Nobody thanks us. They don't say, oh, thank you so much. They don't thank us. They think we're stupid. That's really what it is. They don't thank us. Now, we're using American strength to advance American interests for American citizens and to ensure that we remain the most dominant country on the face of the earth, which we're doing at levels that nobody can believe, actually. Every branch of our armed forces is setting new recruitment records that nobody thought would be possible because everyone wants to be a part of the greatest military the world has ever seen. In January, our warriors flew straight into the heart of the Venezuelan capital, captured the outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro, and brought him to face American justice, which is what he's doing right now. And very soon, this great strength will also bring about a day, 70 years in waiting. It's called A New Dawn for Cuba. We're going to help them out with Cuba. We have a lot of great Cuban Americans. Not too many people in this audience, I don't think, but you go to Miami, we have people, Cuban Americans, people that were brutally treated, whose families were killed and brutalized, and now watch what happens. Under this governing philosophy, instead of locking down our energy resources and putting ourselves at the mercy of those that hate us, and they hate us, and they don't respect us, but they do now, we are unleashing our own supplies with those really beautiful words. Perhaps you've heard them before. Drill, baby, drill. Right? And because of that, we now produce more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined, and very soon that number will more than double. That's right. In addition, our new partner, Venezuela. Venezuela's been great, really doing a good job over there, is adding very substantially to that number. Likewise, instead of using our wealth to throw open our borders and feed, house, clothe, and police the entire world, we're restoring the principle that America's immigration policies must serve the best interests of America and its great citizens. It's called America First. It's very simple. And we'll help other countries, but we have to view it as America First. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country left. At this moment, Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security to shield the world's most heinous and violent criminals from deportation. They want to keep them in our country. They have a murderer, killed many people. They want to keep him in our country. They're fighting very hard to keep him here. There's something, I'm telling you, there's something wrong with these people. They want to protect deranged monsters like the illegal alien from Haiti who recently beat a mother of 2 to death with a hammer at a Florida gas station for all to see. It was all on tape. You saw it just a week ago. Last month, a migrant criminal with 15 prior charges and 4 prior deportations threw an 83-year-old veteran onto the subway tracks in New York City, killing him instantly as he got run over by a subway train. Threw him in. It's all on tape. Democrats want to protect him. They want to protect criminal aliens. Republicans want to put them in jail or ideally deport them as long as they never come back. And under my leadership, we ended asylum fraud. We ended all catch and release. We stopped third world migration. We suspended all refugee resettlement except for persecuted South Africa.